Hey chess people, welcome back to another video by yours truly, and we're going to go over king and pawn endings. I've been trying kind of hard to figure out what the best way to do it is, so to teach that, so I'm going to use a tool um, on chess.com under Learn in Endgames, and under Endgames you um, you choose pawn endings, and we're going to go over winning king and pawn endings in this video. So, without further ado, let's get started. I've actually never completed these challenges before, so we're gonna go slow and see how it goes. Um, let's go. Let's start. You may notice the board is a little zoomed out a little bit. It's because I've been trying to play with it. The endgame, the 3D board does not work as well with the endgames portion because, oh shit, because the board cuts off a little bit. So I'm going to zoom in about right there. That's as because this part's too big and I don't know how to resize this. So this is a winning king and pawn ending because the pawn's key squares are here. So when you control these squares, um, black has to cede territory, and white doesn't have to do anything except push the pawn and run black out of moves. And we have now control of the key squares, and white will promote to a queen. I think in this, yeah, you have uh, to actually checkmate with the queen. So we're going to use our technique that we showed in the king and queen. So all these concepts just kind of pile on top of each other, which is kind of fun. All right, next challenge. White to move and win. So this is a win for white because he has the extra move. So basically he can go either way here. Um, oh, black just cedes immediately. Okay, cool. Didn't really fight us there. So now we checkmate with the technique. Just bring our king and checkmate. All right. So here's more a little more difficult. We have to identify the key squares. So for this pawn, it's going to be this. And white, there is opposition, I believe. One, two, three, four. So um, going in front will activate the distant opposition with an odd number of squares. So that should be enough to win. And we're going to now occupy the key squares, which are these three. And now we're going to outflank the king and like this and force him to cede territory. And now we just kind of um, force the winning position this and promote our pawn to a queen. And we're going to just keep cutting off the king, just mirror the movements. And be sure not to stalemate. That's the real hard part about this. I feel like it shouldn't be playing for checkmate. I feel like it should definitely be, um, it should end when the pawn becomes a queen. It's kind of irrelevant. Alright, here it is a little tricky because of diagonal opposition, but I should have the extra move with my pawn, so that decides it. Which move do I go first? I think it's King d4. Hmm. Sometimes these are a little tricky. Here. Okay, key squares are here, here, and here. Here, here, here. So I have to occupy them. And now we force the winning idea, and now we occupy the key squares, and if you're not careful, you can accidentally force a draw, and that's not what you want. Black just gives up. That's funny. Didn't even resist me there. Uh, which is kind of hilarious. All right, here, and this is the quickest mate. Last challenge. Um, Basically, it's just identifying. Here's the key squares. How do you get to them? In this case, we can occupy here, and we are winning because, in case of King f7, we are winning because we have f4. So, but here we just take opposition and win like this. Boom, and there we go. And that's how you kind of do pawn endings. Let me get this last checkmate, and then we will go over what we have learned. Here we are. So, king and pawn endings. Opposition is incredibly important, and also identifying key squares. So when the pawn is on the fifth rank, when the pawn is on the fifth rank here on, let's say, let's color code it. Let's say, I want blue. Uh, let's say the pawn is on e5. Um, this is the fifth rank for white, so these are the key squares. Um, and if the pawn is on any a rank, if the file, if what the, oh, I'm not right clicking. So if the pawn is on any rank um, before the fifth rank, the key squares will lie uh, two squares in front of the pawn on either side and in the middle. And that applies to this pawn. These are the key. That applies to this pawn. These are the key squares. And it also applies to this pawn. Make it maybe a little consistent. These are also the key squares. If you control these key squares as the superior side, you will often get a victory because you have an extra pawn move and then black cedes territory. But it's only applicable for these, the pawns on these central files. There's completely different rules for knight and rook pawns, which we have gone over, I believe. So that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. That's basically your rundown of king and pawn endings on central files. Um, if you did enjoy the content, please consider subscribing and be notified of future content. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.